C. Brown, Immaculate Home Builders, man. So, day before yesterday, I was talking to my niece, right? Hadn't talked to her in a long time. And she watches a lot of my content. She asked me, she said, Uncle Corey, I see that you call yourself the equity saver. What does that mean? And I was like, that's a good question. She's like 23, right? And so I was like, no, that's a good question. So I began to explain to her what equity means and what it means for me to call myself the equity saver. And I was thinking, I was like, there's a lot of people that probably don't know what equity means, not to mention why I call myself the equity saver. So let me start with the definition of equity. Equity is the amount of money left over between the total cost of your property and its highest value minus your mortgage, right? So every property, if the property isn't free and clear, it has a mortgage. So let's just argue and say that the mortgage, you owe $150, right? $150,000, I'm sorry, $150,000. But the property is worth, when it's fixed all up, $500,000. So that means you have $350,000 of equity, right? So a lot of people, if you sell your property as is, you would ultimately lose your equity because nobody's going to spend $500,000 for a property that's not completely fixed up and look like it should be worth $500,000. So you lose equity that you should put in your pocket when you sell your property. Well, here's where Immaculate Home Builders come in, right? So we're going to do the work in the property, right? You may not have the money. We're going to do the work up front. We're not going to get paid anything up front. There's no cost. There's no credit check. There's no anything. We get paid when the property sells. This allows the sellers of the property to be able to make as much equity as possible. So our goal is to save equity to make sure that the client is able to walk away with every dollar of equity that they deserve, because otherwise they would lose it to a buyer, they would lose it to an investor, and then the investor could either sell the property or the buyer would have, the new buyer would have the equity in the property for whenever they decided to sell. So Immaculate Home Builders, man, we are the equity savers. That spread between what you owe in mortgage and what you can sell a property for is your equity. So let's just say that you have a property and you don't have any equity. It is free and clear, which means you don't have a mortgage. The property's paid off completely, which is great. If you can sell a property for $500,000, guess how much equity you have? You guessed it, $500,000 of equity, right? Now, again, if the property is old and it's dated and it needs work, and I see this a lot in estate sales or properties that an older person lived in the property for a period of time and they just liked the house the way it was. They were comfortable and they didn't have the money to fix it up. If they sold the property in its current older condition, they might get a couple of $100,000, $200,000, $250,000, but they won't get the full $500,000 that the property's worth, which means you now lose equity. We at Immaculate Home Builders, we don't want anybody to lose equity if you don't have to. So the goal is to have us to come in, do all of the work with no cost to you, and then we'll get paid our fee for doing the work when the property closes. Right. So, C. Brown, man, Immaculate Home Builders, I hope that I was able to explain, one, why we call ourselves the equity savers, and more importantly, what equity is. Man, all my realtors, all my brokers, all my real estate professionals, if you are also selling a house, you don't have to be a realtor as well, and you don't know what the current value is, or you're looking to sell the property, but the property needs work and you just don't have that money to fix it up, give us a call. Immaculate Home Builders. Look us up, www.ihbremodelers.com, or see us on Instagram at ihb_remodelers, or obviously my page. Give us a call, man. Immaculate Home Builders. We'll come in, we'll do all the work up front. There's no risk, there's no credit check, none of that. We put all the money up front, we do all of the work on the property, and we allow you to get all of your equity on the back end, man. C. Brown, I'll talk to you soon.